We continue to follow the situation in Florida as well, as Hillary Clinton is there campaigning today. Barack Obama is also there campaigning this afternoon, so we'll be watching that quite closely as well. And Senator Kennedy, I can also tell you, is out of the hospital today, and he is back home. He is back home in Cape Cod today. Let's take a look at what Hillary Clinton had to say last night after her victory in Kentucky.
That's why I'm going to keep making our case until we have a nominee, whoever she may be.
So Hillary Clinton's strategy is to get those delegates seated. Let's bring in our panel and say hello to everybody who is joining us today. And we have Andy Levy with us today. Andy, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Mike.
Angela and Bernard and John are also here as well to hash out what's going on. The New York Senator winning 5 of the last 7 primaries. But that may not be enough for Hillary Clinton. She's really added up a lot of good numbers, and we want to see what our A-list has to say about what's been going on out there in the political field. So, John, let me bring you in first on this one, John.
Sure.
You know, big win for her in Kentucky last night. She had a nice big win in West Virginia as well. And although the numbers seem to be on her side, the Democratic Party as a whole, the leadership, the superdelegates she would have counted on, does not.
Right. The overall math just doesn't work for her. It hasn't for a long time. She's stuck this out for her own reasons. What's important to remember about Kentucky and Oregon last night, first of all, Oregon's the only state the Democrats are really going to contest in the fall. That's the big swing state. That's the real prize in the general election. Kentucky, like West Virginia, she's scoring way above her margins over this whole race. You know, she's only had 2 states with over 20-point margins. Obama has 18. The last 2 states, West Virginia and Kentucky, way over that, 35, 40 points. So I think those are outliers. I think this is really, you know, let's face it, I think there's an ugly element in American politics that may be still rearing its head. And I think her electability argument's coming down to race far too often, and I think that's one of the real factors you need to look at. So I think it's more as much an anti-Obama vote as a pro-Hillary vote in those states.
Well, I want to add, Martha, if I can, she's making the argument that she's been able to win the Appalachian states. And some pundits have said if you can't win those states, you can't win the presidency. Also, yesterday she made the comment that she has won in the popular vote. So she's saying in essence that she has.
Yeah.
Now, she doesn't have the delegates, but she's saying in essence
If you do some interesting math, including Michigan and Florida, she can make that statement.
Exactly, and she was including those.
Bernard, you know, so what's Hillary up to? She's in Florida. She wants to do the best she can, obviously, and she's, you know, being a good soldier. She's carrying on, and I think she just wants to prove that she made this a very good fight. What else does she want beyond that?
Well, look, clearly it's done, and Obama's going to be on a nominee, but there is a method to her madness, and I think that she made a commitment to herself and to millions of her supporters some time ago that she was going to see this out to its conclusion to June 3rd. And let me tell you why I think that's important. And this point was made to me the other night by my 9-year-old niece. And there's millions, seriously,
Wisdom.
there are millions of women and men out there who feel the same way. She said to me, Uncle Bernard, if Hillary Clinton doesn't win, she'll still be a winner in my book because she didn't quit. And this is a woman who, for 16 years, has never backed down from a challenge. And I think ultimately the party's going to come together. People will sort of forgive her for alleged breaking in the disunity within the party, and she will go on to have a bright political future, whether it be as majority leader or in some position.
I'm sure it would be very moving to hear your niece's words, and I think that is what she wants. I think she wants to sort of cement her place in history, and I mean she's young. She can go on to continue to run for more races down the road. Andy?
Yeah, but I also think one of the main reasons she's staying in the race is she's just trying to work up the nerve to ask Obama if she can borrow some money. But, you know, the thing is, she can bring up the vast sexist conspiracy all she wants. She can talk about Michigan and Florida all she wants. It's over. I mean, we all know it's over. And I don't even understand. She keeps bringing up the popular vote, and like you said, and she brings up Michigan.
Yes.
She ran unopposed virtually in Michigan and only got 55% of the vote. Is that really something you want to call home to mom about?
But the other thing, too, about bringing the party together, as for the black vote, being an African-American woman, even though I'm on the other side, so many things have been happening here with the race card, and the Clintons have been blamed for that. I don't know if she can unify the party. I think Obama can.
But the party needs her to help unify the party. Barack Obama cannot do this by himself. She does still command a lot of support among these
the party needs her to unify the party because she's the one that's been splitting it apart.
Let's take a look at that. I think we have a map that I want to pull up here, and the map shows Hillary states that she won and Barack Obama states that he won. And it's a very impressive swath, really, for both of them. The blue states are Obama's right now, and he's waiting for a couple of those in the Northwest to still come in that he hopes will be in his South Dakota and Montana in his category. And Hillary has a very impressive swath. And I raised a question to Chris Wallace a few moments ago, and that is Barack Obama needs a problem solved.
Right.
And the problem is, the labor vote, a lot of blue-collar workers in this country. There's an idea out there, though, that John Edwards might be able to solve that problem for him.
Well, John Edwards' endorsement did help demonstrably in Kentucky.
But what about a VP?
Well, I think as a VP, I think he's got to look even bigger than that problem. I mean, I think somebody like Jim Webb, who can really help solve the patriotism gap that's haunted the Democrats for a long time, can put states like Virginia in play. I think that does the same thing and more. But, look, we're shifting to general election. You want to make the case about electability. There's one of the logics that the Clintons have been floating is that, Obama can't win California because his last name isn't Clinton. Well, that's just absurd. This is all now about winning over independent voters, the largest and fastest-growing segment of the electorate. Obama has outpaced Hillary 2-to-1 with independent voters. Now, McCain's got deep appeal with this group as well. That's one of the reasons why Obama's always been the better general election candidate than Hillary.
He needs to get that working-class white vote. He needs to get that white female senior citizen vote. He needs to get the uneducated white people that don't have a college degree vote, and he's not getting those. That's the only way that can
They are very enthusiastic about John Edwards.
I think, Martha, I think you're going to see the governor of Kansas maybe in that. I think you might see that. I think she might do better because John Edwards, even though he talks about the two Americas, he's still a multimillionaire off of malpractice lawsuits.
Yeah, but people
I don't think he can relate.
He gets a lot of response in polls. I think he's a very interesting possible solution for Barack Obama in the VP category, but we're going to be talking about that for many weeks to come. Now back to politics for another moment. Barack Obama knows that his biggest challenge from John McCain is likely to come on the issue of how to handle the very complicated world stage. Now today, ardent John McCain supporter and former Democrat, now an independent, Senator Joe Lieberman, threw some fighting words in Barack Obama's direction, and here they are in the Wall Street Journal today. Barack Obama, who, contrary to his rhetorical invocations of bipartisan change, has not been willing to stand up to his party's left wing on a single significant national security or international economic issue in this campaign. And then we have this from Senator Chuck Hagel, who is a close friend of John McCain's, but who has been singing Barack Obama's praises. He had this to say last night. Presidential candidates will say many things in a campaign, and I'm very upset with John McCain about some of the things that he's saying. He is smarter than some of the things that he's been saying. So some interesting words from Chuck Hagel, who some people think is a possible VP ticket on the side of Barack Obama. So, Bernard, let me start with you on that. What's your reaction to how some of John McCain's friends are talking about the candidates in this case?
Well, look, I think Joe Lieberman is yesterday's news, old news. If McCain wants to have him, I say take him. He was a terrible candidate as vice president in 2000, and he just reinforces that John McCain represents more of the same, more of the past, and completely the opposite of what Barack Obama and the Democrats represent in terms of change and the future. Chuck Hagel, on the other hand, is someone who I think all Americans can like and respect. And really, if you're talking about mavericks in the Republican Party, Chuck Hagel is a great example of that.
All right, let's take a look at one other piece of this editorial, and then we'll get everybody else into the mix here. What Mr. Obama has proposed, this is Joe Lieberman's Wall Street Journal piece, is not selective engagement, but a blanket policy of meeting personally as president with the leaders of the most vicious anti-American regimes on the planet. If a president ever embraced our worst enemies in this way, he would strengthen them and undermine our most steadfast allies. Andy Levy, what do you think about that?
I think the problem with what Obama said is it's the unconditional part of the meeting. I don't think the meeting is the problem. It's the fact that you would sit down with someone like Ahmadinejad without putting any preconditions on it. I think that's where he just completely screws himself.
Yeah.
How bad is this for him in the general election, John?
I think the word unconditional is the problem. I think the general approach it isn't necessarily.
Right.
I mean, Kennedy met with Khrushchev, Nixon with Mao, Reagan with Gorbachev. But I mean, my fellow independent Lieberman, that's a hard shot. He's a very good attack dog for McCain because he is an independent. He does have bipartisan credibility. He and Hagel are both giants in the center of the American spectrum, but they need to be careful because personally attacking Obama is not what people want, not what independents want. They want to break with the hyperpartisanship of the past.
But it's not
so
personal.
you want to practice the politics of addition, not subtraction.
It's not personally attacking Obama. It's personally attacking his message. And John McCain has been consistent, saying, in essence, if there are preconditions in meeting with someone who's seen as the enemy, and you go through this process, and the enemy meets this process, he has no problem in going to the table. And Chuck Hagel, I mean, he has been a maverick, but John McCain has proven himself time and time again. Number one, on cutting barrel spending by not taking earmarks, and proving that he is a true patriot to this country.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back, and we'll be back with this story.